Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. In the previous session, I started the lesson Deep Water by William Douglas. I'm going to continue with that. In this lesson, the author William Douglas reveals when he was a young boy how nearly he drowned in a swimming pool, and finally how he overcame the fear of water and conquered the fear and how he succeeded it. That's what we are going to see. Let's continue. So I stopped here. Let me continue from there. I reached up as if to grab a rope and my hands clutched only at water. So when he drowned, he wanted to come up. He wanted to come up. So he was trying to hold up as if there was a rope. And but as if there was a rope and to hold it and to come up. But his hands clutched only the water. Water cannot be clutched. So he was suffocating. He was suffocating. He tried to yell, make a loud noise, but no sound came out because he was inside the water. Then my eyes and nose came out of the water, but not my mouth. He says that how he struggled underneath the water. Only eyes and nose came out, but not mouth. I flailed at the surface of the water. I flailed at the surface of the water. Flailed means the meaning of flailed. Swing wildly. That's the meaning of flailed. So he flailed, moving his hands and trying to come up, swinging inside the water, at the surface of the water. Swallowed and choked. He swallowed the water and he choked. Choked means breathlessness, difficult to breathe. I tried to bring my legs up, but they hung as dead weights, paralyzed and rigid. Now let us check the meaning one after the other. Choked. Difficulty in breathing. The next one, paralyzed. Incapable of movement. Next one, rigid. Rigid means not flexible. Now he says that I tried to bring my legs up, but they hung as dead weights. Paralyzed. He could not move his legs at all. Rigid. The legs were not flexible. As his mind thinks, he could not he could not move his legs. A great force was pulling me under. I screamed, but only the water heard me because he was underneath the water, so only the water could hear his voice. I had started on the long journey back to the bottom of the pool. So he started to sink inside the water, go down to the water. So he started to go back to the bottom of the pool. Now let's get into the next paragraph. I struck as the water. I struck at the water as I went down, expending my strength as one in a nightmare fights an irresistible force. So, in the nightmare, that is when we sleep, we get some fear dream, fearful dreams. That's known as nightmare. In that nightmare, we cannot control our fight, but it won't happen. Only it happens in the dream. So expending means collecting all the strength, gathering all the strength as one in a nightmare fights an irresistible force. I had lost all my breath. He says that he had lost all his strength. My lungs ached. My head throbbed. Throbbed means something is with a strong force, some sound is heard in the head. That is, somebody is beating with a strong force. Okay, some regular rhythm was heard in his head. My head throbbed. I was getting dizzy. He was fainting. Almost he was fainting. But I remembered the strategy. I would spring from the bottom of the pool and come like a cork to the surface. I would lie flat on the water, strike out with my arms, and thrash with my legs. Then I would get to the edge of the pool and be safe. So he's bringing back, as he goes down into the water, he's bringing back the strategy in his mind. Once he touches the bottom of the pool, he would come like a spring, come back like a spring to the surface water, to the top of the water. I would lie flat on the water. All these things he had a plan in his mind. But according to his plan, did it work out? No. So he thinks that once he touches the bottom, he will come back like a spring and lie flat on the water. Strike out with my arms, swing with his arms, and thrash with my legs, beat with his legs. Then I would get to the edge of the pool and be safe. So, after coming to the surface water, he will swim and go back to the edge of the water pool. That's what he had planned, but it didn't work out. So, this was a strategy. Check in the next paragraph. I went down. I went down endlessly. He says that he goes down and down to the bottom. I opened my eyes, nothing but water with a yellow glow. That yellow tinge was seen in the water, dark water that one could not see through. And then sheer, stark terror, stark, that means powerful. Stark means powerful. A powerful terror seized him. Terror that knows no understanding, terror that knows no control. Terror that knows no understanding and knows no control and no control. Terror that no one can understand who has not been experienced it. Okay, so he says that he had undergone that terror, and that terror, the powerful terror that seized him, that knows no understanding. Nobody can understand that. And no control at all with that. Terror has no understanding. Terror has no control. Okay. Terror that no one can understand who has not experienced because he had an experience. He was able to narrate it. I was shrieking underwater, making a loud noise under the water. Shrieking. The meaning of shrieking. Making huge noise. That is what shrieking. Underwater, I was paralyzed. No movement at all. Underwater, stiff, rigid with fear. Even the screams in my throat were frozen. Only my heart and the pounding in my head, that rhythm, continuous rhythm, that sound was heard in his head, pounding in my head, said that I was still alive. That sound, that pounding sound, that continuous beating sound in his head told him that he was still alive. And then, in the midst of the terror came a touch of reason. I must remember to jump when I hit the bottom. So, even at this stage, he was recalling a strategy. The moment he touches bottom, he should come up to the surface water. I must remember to jump when I hit the bottom. So, he is bringing back his strategy. Remember to jump when I hit the bottom. That's what a strategy. At last, I felt the tiles under me, so I had reached to the bottom of the swimming pool. My toes reached out as if to grab them. How the toes can grab the tiles, but he was feeling, his toes were feeling like that. I jumped with everything I had. Whatever strength he had, he jumped. But the jump made no difference. The water was still around me. I looked for ropes. I looked for ropes, ladders, water wings. So all these things he was expecting. A rope, as if a rope is given. If a rope is given, he can hold it and come up. If a ladder has been provided, he can climb the ladder and come up. Water wings, which will allow him to float because of the buoyancy. So all these things he was expecting, but nothing has happened. Nothing but water. A mass of yellow water held me. Stark terror took an even deeper hold on me, like a great charge of electricity. So the stark terror held him strongly. I shook and trembled with fright that made him to shake his body. Some trembling was going in his mind. My arms would not move, my legs would not move. I tried to call for help, to call for mother. Nothing happened. All these things are happening underneath the water. Okay, let us move to the next page. And then, strangely, there was light. And then, strangely, there was light. I was coming out of the awful yellow water. At least my eyes were. My nose was almost out too. Then I started down a third time. So when he was thinking about the strategy, there was some light. He was coming out of the yellow water. At least his eyes were out, and nose was almost out. So nose was also out. But for the third time, he started to go down. I sucked for air and got water. The yellowish light was going out. Then all effort ceased. Ceased means stopped. I relaxed. This paragraph is very, very important. Just follow me closely. Even my legs felt limp, could not move. Limp means could not move. And blackness swept over my brain. And a blackness swept over my brain. It wiped out terror. There was no more panic. No more panic. Wiped out terror. It was quiet and peaceful. So, this moment was quiet and peaceful. Nothing to be afraid of. This is nice. To be drowsy. He was feeling drowsy. To go to sleep. No need to jump. No need to make any effort to jump back. Too tired to jump. It's nice to be carried gently. To float along in space. Tender arms around me, tender arms like mothers. Now I must go to sleep. I crossed to oblivion and the I crossed to I crossed to oblivion and the curtain of life fell. It's very, very important actually. These two lines. I crossed to oblivion and the curtain of life fell.